Thank you, Travis. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with news from Ukraine. Russia forces escalated their attacks on crowded urban areas Tuesday, bombarding the central square in Ukraine's second biggest city and Kiev's main television tower in what the country's president called a blatant campaign of terror. "Nobody will forgive, nobody will forget," were the words of Ukraine's President Zelensky after the bloodshed in parts of the city. Ukrainian authorities said 5 people were killed in the attack on the television tower, which is a couple of miles from central Kiev and a short walk from numerous apartment buildings. A television control room and power substation were hit, and at least some Ukrainian channels briefly stopped broadcasting, official said. Zelensky's office also reported a powerful missile attack. Still on the Russia and Ukraine conflict, in response to an escalation of attacks by Russian forces in Ukraine, U.S. President Joe Biden vowed to make the Russian counterpart pay a price for the invasion. Biden used his first State of the Union address to highlight the resolve of a reinvigorated Western alliance that has worked to rearm the Ukrainian military and adopt tough sanctions, which he said have left Russian President Vladimir Putin isolated in the world more than he has ever been. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson: when dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos, Biden said. Biden devoted the first 12 minutes of his Tuesday evening address to Ukraine, with lawmakers of both parties repeatedly rising to their feet and applauding as he praised the bravery of Ukraine's people and condemned Putin's assault. As Biden spoke, a 40-mile, 64-kilometer convoy of hundreds of Russian tanks and other vehicles advanced slowly on Kiev, the capital city of nearly 3 million people, in what the West feared was a bid by Putin to topple the government and install a Kremlin-friendly regime. Now with news from the Caribbean. The Barbados-based Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum says for the 3-month period, March to May, a persistent weak of La Nina pattern is expected to transition to near-neutral conditions during the upcoming season. It says this may drive increasing uncertainty into the seasonal rainfall forecast. La Nina refers to the periodic cooling of ocean surface temperatures in the central and east-central equatorial Pacific. Typically, La Nina events occur every 3 to 5 years or so, but on occasion can occur over successive years. In its latest edition of the Caribbean Climate Outlook newsletter, the agency said the uncertainty points the MAM rainfall and wet day forecast towards climatology across most of the region. It said that short-term drought up to the end of this month is evolving in the United States, Virgin Islands, St. Martin, and may develop or continue in Barbados, Dominica, the Dominican Republic, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Southwest Puerto Rico, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent. And now for a final story. The United States Coast Guard stopped an overloaded sailboat with nearly 180 people crammed on its deck off the Bahamas Sunday night. The 179 people were first sighted by a Coast Guard air crew around 11 p.m., sailing about 30 miles off Andros Island, the agency said. 2 cutters, the Confidence and the Harriet Lane, stopped the vessel and took the people on board. The Coast Guard said they were transferred to the custody of the Royal Bahamian Defense Force on Tuesday. The federal government tracks maritime migration by the fiscal year beginning and ending October 1. If the numbers of Haitian migrants stopped at sea continue their current trajectory, fiscal year 2022 will surpass the last fiscal year, which saw the most people interdicted by the Coast Guard since 2019. Since October, the Coast Guard stopped 993 Haitian migrants headed to Florida, compared to 1,522 in all of the fiscal year 2021. In fiscal year 2020, the Coast Guard only encountered 418 people from Haiti to sea. That has brought us to the end of tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Travis.